This is your Barbados Today Evening News Update for Thursday, October 10th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Approximately 15,000 motorists are facing the possibility of picking up a fine of up to $5,000 for not complying with the national registration sticker requirement. With 3 weeks remaining for motorists to obtain stickers for their vehicles, officials of the Barbados Revenue Authority are warning those who have not yet done so to avoid making the same mistake twice. This caution has come just over a week after motorists were granted a month's extension to get the Barbados Licensing Authority's registration stickers to attach to their license plate. They initially had until September 30th to obtain the stickers, but scores of them were unable to do so due to the long lines at BRA offices. Prime Minister Mia Mottley then announced a one-month reprieve. Today, BRA's Manager of Communications and Public Relations, Carolyn Williams-Gale, urged people not to wait until the next deadline. Motorists who operate a vehicle without a valid registration sticker affixed to the rear registration number plate face a fine of up to $5,000 or imprisonment of 12 months or both under the Road Traffic Amendment Bill 2018. Health authorities are monitoring a hike in respiratory illnesses. According to Senior Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Leslie Rollock, since the start of September, there has been an increase in cases of the common cold virus with sporadic cases of the flu when compared to the same period last year. Dr. Rollock noted that the island's flu season usually starts in the latter half of October and urged persons with asthma, diabetes, and other NCDs who are at risk of a severe illness from the virus to ask their doctor about receiving the flu vaccine. Dr. Rollock also reminded citizens to continue practicing good hand hygiene since this is the most effective way of reducing the transmission of respiratory viruses. These practices include washing hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds and drying them with disposable tissue. Government has earmarked over 100 acres of fallow land to bring back into sugar production. Word of this from Agriculture Minister Inda Ware, who told Barbados Today that land at Harrison's Point and other Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation farms will go back into production. He said this will help authorities to identify better growing conditions for sugarcane and more drought-resistant varieties.
All the BAMC farms that were out of production will go back into production. And we've started that process. If you go down to Harrison's Point, you will see all down there is cleared. And up at St. Philip and Mount Pleasant and all those areas will be cleared as well. Wherever BAMC farms existed that went, where the farms or the fields were left to go fallow, we are now clearing all of those. And each one will carry a trial crop for testing to see which sugarcane will be more drought resistant and then which areas it will grow better, because different areas grow sugarcane differently. So you will find that, for example, in St. Lucie, some types of cane may grow better than others, and the same thing is in St. Philip and across Barbados.
A call for government to pay more attention to energy efficiency as it presses ahead with its 2030 goal of making Barbados 100% dependent on renewable forms of energy. Project Manager of the United Nations Environment Program, United for Efficiency, Brian Holu, issued the caution as he pointed to the need for improved regulation of cooling appliances being imported into Barbados and other Caribbean countries. He was addressing the opening of a 2-day capacity building workshop at the DV Southwinds hotels, where officials from several countries gathered under the Caribbean Cooling Initiative to discuss issues relating to cooling in the Caribbean and come up with strategies.
As the government, all the way up to the Prime Minister level, is setting, I think, world-class targets that over the course of the next decade are going to transform this economy, and that is not going to be possible in terms of energy and environmental targets unless you address the elephant in the room, which is cooling. It uses so much of the the country's power. And so what we're going to talk about today are some of the methods, best practices we're seeing around the world on how to understand what's getting imported, to get enough data so that we can make good decisions on setting up financial mechanisms to make cooling products more affordable, but also to make sure that the rules that we set are being well enforced, that people are being held accountable.
Hundreds attended the military funeral of the late Chief Petty Officer of the Barbados Defense Force, David Fitzgerald Cregwell, at the St. George Parish Church this afternoon. It was a somber occasion as those gathered reflected on the life of the 63-year-old 2nd Avenue Lower Newberry St. George resident who died suddenly while on the compound of Price Mart on Sunday, September 29. Members of the BDF joined Cregwell's family and friends for the almost 2-hour-long service, during which the BDF band played a few musical selections. There were tributes from groups and organizations that Cregwell was a part of, including Ins and Out Barbados, Lions Club of Bridgetown, the Barbados National Trust, and the Barbados Legion and the BDF.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Root Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional happenings, former Jamaica Education Minister Raul Reid and 4 of his co-accused were today granted bail with sureties by the Corporate Area Parish Court. The 5 have been charged for various illegal acts, including breaches of the Corruption Prevention Act, conspiracy to defraud, misconduct in public office at common law, and breaches of the Proceeds of Crime Act. We get more in this report from Television Jamaica.
It was the first to mention this, and Hugh Wildman was pretty colorful in his remarks when he started. He actually said that this case sounds like a big gun without a bullet, because he's expecting that after what happened yesterday with the raids and everything, he thought that he would have seen statements to substantiate the allegations that he outlined earlier. Nonetheless, Vashon, the judge, Senior Parish Judge Vaughan Smith, he granted Mr. Reid bail in the sum of $3 million, Sharon Reid $1 million, Charles Reid $500,000, and Professor Pinnock, he got bail in the sum of $2 million. And for the councillor Kim Brown Lawrence, she got bail in the sum of $1 million. All individuals are required to report to different police stations between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. They've all been ordered to surrender their travel documents to the police. A stop order will be imposed, and they were told not to be seen at the Caribbean Maritime University or the Ministry of Education.
Further afield, Turkey pounded Kurdish militia in northeast Syria for the second day today, forcing tens of thousands of people to flee and killing dozens in a cross-border assault on U.S. allies that has turned the Washington establishment against President Donald Trump. We get more in this report from Reuters Television.
Turkey is pressing its military offensive against US-allied Kurdish fighters in northeast Syria, shelling towns and bombing targets in an operation that's forced tens of thousands of people to flee their homes. A Syrian monitoring group reported at least 23 fighters with the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces had been killed and 8 civilians. Rockets and mortar shells also rained down on the Turkish side of the border. Turkish media said the shells were thought to have been fired from areas controlled by a Kurdish militia in Syria, under attack by Turkish forces. 12 people were wounded. The 2-day-old offensive is being condemned around the world. Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan was quick to dismiss his critics.
Ey Avrupa Birliği! Kendinize gelin.
Hey, European Union, pull yourself together. I say it again, if you try to label this operation as an invasion, it's very simple. We will open the gates and send 3.6 million refugees your way.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good evening.